Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel a good number of times before. I've had some very nice beers from these guys over the years and they're not afraid to brew different styles either, and that's one of the main reasons that I like trying different things from this brewery, because they tend to put out some really nice examples of all these different kinds of beer. And the one that we're going to try today is another style that I've never had from them before. It's a style that I've always enjoyed, and it's one that seems to be enjoying a little bit of a kind of mini renaissance at the moment actually. So yeah, I'm curious to see how this one turns out from this brewery actually. So for this review then we will head to Eskilstuna out to the west of Stockholm, and we're going to have a look at another beer from Eskilstuna Ölkultur. So this particular beer is called the Eskilstuna Black IPA. It comes in at 7% ABV, and I think you know what style this one is. So yeah, very curious to see how this beer turns out. The last beer that I had from Eskilstuna Ölkultur was the Modern Lager, if I remember rightly. That was a kind of German style Helles beer, and I thought that was really quite nicely done. But I've had, you know, quadrupels, Scotch ales, barley wines, and things like that from this brewery over the years, and they've all turned out to be pretty good actually. I've got another beer coming in from them next month that is another anniversary beer, and their anniversary beers always tend to be quite special actually. So yeah, this is a brewery that I do keep an eye on a little bit. I always keep an eye out for what they're releasing in the local småskalig assortment, and you can usually get some very interesting stuff from them. I've had, you know, Irish red ales, as I said, barley wines, Scotch ales, you know, probably if you name a style of beer from this brewery, I've had it. I've had tripels, quadrupels, anything. But yeah, always nice to return to this brewery and try a new style of beer from them. I think the next review that I do from these guys after the anniversary beer, that has to be, you know, like a West Coast IPA or a New England IPA or something like that. I need to try an IPA of some description from these guys, because I think that's the one style that we haven't tried. But yeah, since this is an Eskilstuna beer, a big shout out to my good friend Ricard at Over at Glass. Awesome Swedish beer tubing channel, and yeah, he's got a very energetic, very kind of unique style, if you like. So if you're a Swedish speaker, I do recommend that you go and check out his channel. You will see him appearing on my live streams quite often as well actually. I need to kind of organise some sort of collaboration reviews with him at some stage, but I do want to get up to Eskilstuna and visit these guys, and also Muli's brewery as well. Both have indicated that they'd be quite keen to take part in a Meet the Brewery segment, so you will see that at some point in the future. I just need to figure out exactly when we can make that happen. But yeah, as I say, always nice to return to Eskilstuna Ölkultur, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer, a 7% black IPA. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Eskilstuna Ölkultur before, and we will no doubt return to these guys at some point in the near future. Like I said, anniversary beer, and I want to get a go at some IPAs, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Eskilstuna Ölkultur. So Eskilstuna Ölkultur was founded by the homebrewers Arto Ukura, Kauko Lakanen, Thomas Humla, Bosse Gustafsson and Anders Olsson. So these guys apparently met at the Swedish Homebrewing Championships and found that they were quite local to each other, and they decided that they wanted to kind of get together and give Eskilstuna a brewery once again. So together they managed to rent a building in the town centre, and they established a beer bar which was opened back at Christmas in 2003. So there's quite a bit of history behind this company, let's just say that, nearly 18 years of history now. But once the bar began to do really well, they thought that they should start brewing beer for themselves, and so So in 2006 they officially founded Eskilstuna Ölkultur, which translates into English as basically being, you know, Eskilstuna beer culture, if you like. So quite a nice name, I have to say. But in 2008 they moved into a larger premises because they outgrew the original brewery and bar, and they were helped by an army of volunteers to get the new premises up and running with, you know, doing different bits of kind of handiwork and things like this. But they received their brewing equipment from China in September of 2008, and they've continued to expand their brewing capacity and range ever since. In 2018 they brewed around 130,000 litres of beer for the whole year, and I've not seen a figure more up to date than that, but I'm sure I could get a hold of that in time for the next review. I'll write to them and ask them about that. But for a long time it was Anders Olsson who was the main brewer, but they now have somebody new in that's taken that's taking the brewing side of the company forward, and Arto Ukra, bad pronunciation, Arto Ukra is involved in the business side of things, and as of January 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced around 170 different kinds of beer thus far. But yeah, they are a fairly prolific brewery. I mean, as I said, I've had lots of different styles of beer from this brewery, and I do enjoy just keeping an eye out for the different beers that these guys are releasing. They're not afraid to try different styles, and you know, it tends to be the case that they put out really solid examples of different styles when they have a go at them. So that is why I like looking out for the stuff that these guys have done. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Eskilstuna Ölkultur for the moment. As I said to you, these guys have indicated a desire to take part in the kind of meet the brewery thing, so I need to figure out when I can get up to Eskilstuna and meet these guys, and it'd be cool of course to do it with Moolies, and also to meet my friend Ricard from Over at Glass as well. But yeah, their restaurant and stuff, if you look at the pictures of it on Facebook and things, it looks really nice, a really lovely kind of old building, and you can see that on the label here actually. This little outline that they use as their symbol, that is the what their building looks like basically, so pretty cool. But yeah, as I say, that's all I can really tell you about Eskilstuna Ölkultur for just now. If you want to learn a little bit more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. I'm very, very curious about this. So black IPAs is a style that I've always enjoyed. Originally I kind of felt that these beers had to be imperials to be at their best. I like a black IPA to just have some kind of element of brown sugar in it, because you know, when this style first appeared, a lot of breweries were just putting, you know, they were quite low ABV and they were just putting black malt in them, so they were like very, very dry in some ways. But I do like the beer, the malt base to be a little bit more rounded. But I'm guessing with this one, when it's 7%, it will be sort of fairly well rounded and have a little element of a kind of brown sugar note to it, because I really think that's the best way to round off this style. But I have been proven wrong. I have had some kind of lower ABV black IPAs that have turned out to be very nice in recent times, but probably my favourite example ever of this style would be the black salts and body malts from Toil. I'm yet to find a better example of this style than that one. But as of, I'm filming this review for you on the 6th of February, Toil have just released a new batch of black salts and body malts, so if you do want to try an awesome example of a black IPA, that is the one to go for. But yeah, as you can see with the artwork on this beer, it's very similar to what we've come to expect from Eskilstuna Ölkultur over the years. You can see, as I showed you a little minute ago, that is the Eskilstuna Ölkultur brewery symbol. Plain bottle cap on this one, of course. It would be nice if they did black bottle caps and then had that symbol on it, but again, it might be quite costly for them to do that, because I'm guessing they'll have to order these in, you know, massive bulk. But it says on the side here, black IPA en av den nyaste ölstilarna I världen, mörk färgen men inte i smaken. So the black IPA is one of the newest styles of beer in the world. It's dark in colour but not in the taste. En mörk öl med kraftig frutiga toner I både smak och arom från moderna hummelsorter. So basically it's a dark beer. I never understand how to translate kraftig. To be honest, it's like, it's not crafty, it's like pleasant almost. It's like, you know, interesting. Craftig is like, you know, interesting, pleasant, I guess you could translate it as. But basically with an interesting fruity tones in both taste and aroma that are a result of modern hop types, if you like. So yeah, interesting, I have to say. The Swedish verb system and stuff. Swedish is a very, very clever language, but when you try and take it back to English, and you're doing video reviews and stuff like that, sometimes the brain just farts a little bit and it doesn't quite work. But like I said earlier, 7% black IPA, this one, 330ml bottle. I want to say I paid 35 kroners for this one, 35 Swedish kroners. So this is roughly €3.50, about £3 sterling, and in American dollars probably about $4, $4.25, something like that. So yeah, again, Systembolaget does keep the prices of these beer down, but yeah, it does have its negative sides as well, I guess we can say, because they're limited on when they can actually release their beers and stuff like that. But in terms of, I think, for me as a consumer, I think the thing that they do every month now with the Swedish beer releases, I really like this. The other thing I should say about this beer is that I believe this one was released as part of the January Lokal Osmoskarit assortment. I've got a mix of beers from December and January that I'm working my way through just now, but I think this one was a January release, so correct me on that in the comment section below if I'm telling you lies, and if I am, I do apologise. But yeah, 7% black IPA, this one. I think it should be really nice. But as you can see, when we've poured this beer, it's poured a lovely sort of, you know, dark ebony kind of rosewood colour, Coca-Cola, Pepsi Max, if you like. It's poured a kind of colour similar to that. You can see that when we poured the beer, it had a solid half finger of a frothy, I would say light kind of beige coloured head. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass. There's a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, but I mean overall it does look really nice, and the head is just fading away to leave a very sort of thin, just a very kind of thin foamy layer. But I mean overall I think it looks very, very nice actually. I think it's in terms of a black IPA, to be honest with you, there's nothing surprising about this beer in terms of the appearance. But yeah, let's take a look at the aroma and see how we get on with this one. Lovely looking black IPA, I have to say. So yeah, let's go for it. Oh, I have to say, that smells very, very nice. First impression, lovely big oily fruity notes and just an awesome smoothness to it as well. That's the first impression that I get of this. This beer's got a good bit of sweetness to it as well, so I've just got a feeling with this one that it might well hit the spot. Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice. And again, this is why I like reviewing beers from this brewery, because they just do solid examples of things. They're quite an old school brewery in a way. I mean, they're using the 330 bottles. They seem to be quite happy with this almost like brew pub type model that they have, and then, you know, a small portion of the beer goes into bottles and things. Again, correct me on that if I'm wrong, but you know, the fact that they can produce beers like this, I think is pretty cool. They remind me in a lot of ways of Malmö Brewing Company that I often visit. And enjoy the beers from, but they strike me like this, but a brewery that does bottle, you know, a little bit. But I have based on the aroma, I have a very, very good feeling about this beer. Yeah, that's really, really nicely done. So where to start with this one? Where to start with it? This beer, it's got a nice kind of, the thing that's going to strike you about this beer first is the malt. So on that malty side of things, you've got a lovely kind of smooth brown bready character to this beer. That comes out right away. You've got you can smell a little bit of the kind of more well-fired bread crusty notes underneath, but it's a very smooth brown bready, almost like German rye bready type quality that you get out of this beer. There's a bit of that kind of more English wholemeal type bread thing in there, but yeah, there's a good little bit of kind of rye bready type quality to this beer. But there's a good brown sugar component in there as well. So for me, you've got a nice kind of sweet caramelly note to it, and the caramel actually comes across as quite oily in a lot of ways as well. It's quite an oily brown sugar note you're getting out of this. There's an element, I want to say there's an element of a slightly Werther's Original type butter candy kind of thing to this, but you've also got a wee bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity quality as well. But the thing that really strikes me in the aroma of this beer is just how ridiculously smooth it is. The aroma on that is I might go as far as saying that this is maybe one of my favourite aromas I've come across from Eskilstuna Ölkultur so far, actually. And as I say, I think the black IPA, it was a very, very popular style back in, 2013, 2014, 2015, and breweries are starting to pay attention to it again, along with the West Coast IPAs. You're seeing a few red IPAs and things these days as well, rye IPAs, and it's nice to see that the beer scene is kind of re-diversifying away from being solely about these big pastry stouts and hazy IPAs and stuff. So I've seen quite a few breweries producing black IPAs, and I think it's bound to be pretty nice, actually, this one. It's just the aroma that comes out of this is very, very inviting. But yeah, it's lovely. I think there's a few woody undertones to it. There's a little bit of an almost nutty quality in there. You're going to get these undertones when it comes to darker beers like this, but it smells really, really nice. I'd be curious to know what the boil time in the wort with this one is, because when it comes to the colour of your beer, it's dependent on two things. One, the type of malts that you use, two, the length of boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, thus you get a darker colour of the beer. But again, it's dependent in the first instance on the type of malts that you use in the first place. So yeah, the aroma of this one, I think, is absolutely spot on. I really like how this beer goes together. It's absolutely, the malty side of it, I think, is just lovely. My favourite aroma so far, maybe from Eskilstuna Ölkultur. But on the hoppy side of things, then you do get a wee bit of earthiness out of this one. There's a wee bit of earthiness in there. Good. There's actually quite a little bit of a kind of floral aromatic quality to it. There's some nice big kind of, I do get the impression of a little bit of piney resin. I wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of old school hops that are in here, a little bit of Chinook. I don't know about Columbus. I guess we can maybe tell Columbus a bit more in the flavour, but I think it might be Chinook and Cascade that's in this one. This strikes me as being quite a simple hop bill, if you like, and those two, I would say, I'm 90% sure that are in this beer. I like playing guess the hops with these beers, of course, but it's a bit more difficult with kind of darker malt bases. But yeah, there's a nice little bit of a kind of resinous, kind of pine resiny, floral aromatic quality to this beer. But like I say, you've got some nice big juicy fruity notes to it. There's a bit of lighter grassiness in there as well, but when it comes to the fruity side of things, you have there's a lovely big kind of plummy note to it. It's got a bit of grapefruit in there as well, so some grapefruit, some plums, a little bit of raisiny note. Then you've got some nice kind of juicy blackcurrant and blackberry type qualities in this beer as well. So yeah, I do like how this one goes together. The aroma coming out of this beer, I think, is very, very nice. It's very old school, and it is everything you would expect of a black IPA, but I think it just comes across as really, really well executed in that sense. It's got everything that I would want. And remember, beer is always subjective. You can get different things. I'm just trying to figure out, is there maybe a little bit of orange in this one? Could there be a bit of Amarillo or something in here? Simcoe's also a very good hop, actually, to put in these black IPAs too, but there's something that tells me this one could be more of a kind of Cascadian dark ale, which is essentially like a single IPA, which is like a single black IPA with simply, Cascade, sometimes a bit of Chinook. So yeah, this one I think it could be very, very interesting. But yeah, let's take a taste of this one then and see how we get on. So this one is simply called the Eskilstuna Black IPA from Eskilstuna Ölkultur, and you've guessed it, Eskilstuna here in Sweden. 7% ABV. Let's have a taste of this. Slange, skål, cheers. Yeah, it's another damn solid beer. It does have a bit more dryness to it than I was expecting in the flavour. I will say that about it straight away. There's a wee bit more dryness, particularly in the back of the palate. But other than that, it's got everything you would kind of expect to the style. It does. This is a really interesting take on the style. Actually, I thought this one was going to be very smooth and very oily and things like that. But it does. The dryness that comes out of this beer in the aftertaste is pretty impressive, I have to say. Yeah, that's a lovely beer. It gets a big thumbs up from me. In fairness, when I was saying about the dryness and stuff that builds out of this beer, that could well just be, the impact of when you take it in, to be honest with you. It could well just be an impact flavour, to be honest. But yeah, it's a lovely, lovely beer. And I think it does come across as very old school. It is a very old school take on the black IPA, I think. And it actually does have a wee bit of the dryness. I'd be curious to know what malt base they've used in this one. Does this have a little bit of Carafa or something in it, or a bit of Special B, or maybe just a straight up black malt? I don't know. But yeah, let's pardon me, let's try and break down the flavour of this one a little bit and see how we go. So yeah, middle third of your palate, straight away you're going to get a nice kind of smooth, wholemeally, brown bready sort of thing. When you push back onto that border region between middle third and back third of your palate, there's a real kind of like black malty, well-fired bread crust type dryness to the beer, actually. So I really like that about this beer for sure. That's one of the things that really kind of strikes me about it, is it's got a good level of contrast. On the back third of your palate, it really has a kind of nice, it really has quite a nice dryness as well. So yeah, it's really interesting how the whole thing kind of pieces itself together. Yeah, the whole sort of backbone of this beer, I think, just goes together really nicely. It's interesting, as I say, it starts off smooth and bready, then you start to get some of the dryness out of it, then further into the aftertaste you're getting the sweet elements out of it. So it's really a three-pronged base that you have in this beer, and it just works extremely well. So yeah, on that back third of your palate, you get more of these kind of bread crusty notes. You can feel the sort of brown breadiness in this beer thickening up on the back of the palate there. So in the back third of your palate, quite a thick brown bready note. So as you come at the very back of the tongue, there's a little bit of a kind of toasty, well-fired thing. But as you move further forward, you get a nice thick kind of bready note. And then as you reach that border region between middle third and back third of your palate, the thickness just drops away. And then in that middle third of your palate, you've got quite a dense kind of brown bready note there, and underneath that there's a wee bit of a well-fired bread crust. So I do like how that goes together in this one for sure. So yeah, and on top of that whole bready sort of thing, that's when you get the brown sugars. This beer does have a very, very nice kind of brown sugary element to it. And I would say that it comes across like it's almost like in the middle of your palate you've got a nice kind of sweet ring. So you've got this ring right in the centre, in that middle third of your palate, and it's quite an oily brown sugar. It's not the most kind of treacly, molassesy kind of brown sugar, if that makes sense, but it's just got a lovely kind of base to it, and I think that gives the beer. You've got a contrast in there. So on the top layer you've got sweetness, in the middle layer you've got smoothness, and then underneath you've got a little bit of that kind of dry, toasty, well-fired, bread crusty sort of thing. If you go to the front corners of your palate, then move diagonally back, you will pick up one or two little kind of nutty elements to the beer. As I say, if you go forward in the centre of the palate and just push your way forward a bit, you might get one or two little nutty things in there too. But the malty backbone of this beer, I think, is very, very interesting for sure. So yeah, the malty side of this beer is just, it's really well executed. It's got, I think it's one of these ones that comes in as being quite harsh in a lot of ways. Well, not harsh, that's maybe too far. It comes across as having a little bit of that kind of dryness and stuff to it in the beginning, and it retains that into the aftertaste. But it's, the more that you drink of this beer, the more you realise how kind of balanced it is in the malt base, and that's the most difficult part to get right in a black IPA, is to get it so that you've got a little bit of the dryness, but then the smoothness and the sweetness kind of balance that out. So I really like how all of that kind of thing goes together actually as well. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there. As you move further forward, you start to get more, you can feel that it develops to be a more kind of floral and kind of resinous type quality. You can feel a bit of the pine resin underneath. I do think there's Chinook in this. I'm pretty certain there's a bit of Chinook in here. And Chinook's a lovely hop to use in these black IPAs. But yeah, it's got a lovely kind of pine resiny quality underneath. So there's a nice little bit of a kind of floral aromatic quality. Then round the very front curve of the palate, the beer has more of a kind of lighter grassy sort of thing. But on that front third of your palate, you've got a nice kind of oily bubble there, and that's where all the juicy fruity esters push their way out of the beer. On that border region between middle third and front third of your palate, you do get a little bit of the kind of dryness, that well-fired bread crusty quality coming out of this one. I'm still undecided on the malt, whether it's like Special B, you know, just straight up black malt, or could it be one of these Carafa malts from Weirmann and Bamberg down in Germany. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, the base underneath, the kind of fruity side of the beer, is a bit more, it's a bit brown bready, but it's also a little bit kind of bread crusty at the same time. So yeah, there's quite a few interesting things going on in this beer, I have to say. So yeah. Yeah, the fruity side of this beer again is really nice. It's what you'd expect though. I mean, at the back of that front third of your palate, you've got a bit of the grapefruity notes there, and that back, yeah, the front third of your tongue, as I say, bread crusty notes, but then a bit of the darker kind of grapefruity notes, and as you move further forward from that, it develops to be a little bit more kind of juicy and figgy in a sense. You get some blackcurranty, blackberry-ish sort of flavours going further into the aftertaste, but there's something in here that makes me want to say there's an orangey character to it. Could there be a little bit of Amarillo or Mosaic in this one? I hesitate to say Amarillo because it doesn't strike me as oily enough for Amarillo. Amarillo's always a big oily hop. The slightly lighter character that you've got from the orangey notes in this makes me want to say Mosaic. But then there's other options. It could be a little bit of Mandarina Bavaria. It could be, you know, a little bit of a Zaka or something like that. But I've never had a Zaka in a black IPA. You know, Sabro would be an option. Waiiti, Pacifica from New Zealand. There's lots of different hops that it could be, but I think it's most likely that it's either Amarillo or Mosaic that's in this one. I think there is an orangey character to this beer. That front half of that front third of your tongue is just a little bit more oily, and you get a wee bit of there's just something telling me that it's like Amarillo or Mosaic that's in this one. So yeah, I really like how this beer, how everything kind of pieces together in this beer. It's really well constructed, and it gives you everything that you would want from a black IPA, at least in my opinion. You know, beer is subjective, different people like different things, but solid stuff. I think that covers the flavour profile of this beer quite extensively, to be honest. So let's look at the mouthfeel to round off. I mean, it's a mid-bodied beer, the carbonation's smooth, it's got a nice kind of slickness to it and cleanliness, which is kind of what you've come to expect of a lot of kind of Swedish beers these days. That again is kind of typical of Eskilstuna Ölkultur in my experience. It's just got a lovely cleanliness and lovely smoothness to it. I'd love to try this beer on tap actually and see what it's like, but the how would you say, the hoppy side of things, this beer does have a good little bit of bitterness to it, and I think in fairness you want bitterness from a black IPA. This has got to be at least 80 IBUs, if not a little bit higher. It could be a full 100 IBU beer, and at that point of course you reach saturation with your palate. 100 IBUs is the maximum that you can detect, but at least 80 IBUs out of this beer, both from the malty side of things and from the hoppy side of the beer. But yeah, the malt base, like I say, is quite layered, you know, roasty and toasty underneath, smooth in the middle, and then sweet on the top. Absolutely, but it develops more dryness the further you go into the aftertaste. Lovely big oily fruits, and this is just an all-round really nicely executed beer. If you're a fan of black IPAs, I think you will enjoy this one. It's really nicely done. One of the, you know, it is one of the great paradoxes, I guess, with Eskilstuna Ölkultur. I reckon these guys are like an extremely solid brewery, but they don't brew that much in terms of their capacity and stuff like that. They seem to be quite content with this almost like brew pub model that they've got. In some ways it's a shame because more people should try their beers, but at the same time I think it's quite nice. They seem to be content with that size of business that they've got. So yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22 I think, but I always enjoy trying their beers, and I'm sure there's various other people in Sweden that do as well. So yeah, this was another really nice example. So I think in the next review after the anniversary beer, I really need to try like a West Coast IPA and hopefully a New England IPA from them at some stage as well. Could be that I've tried one or two of those already and just forgotten about it, but you know, we'll see. But yeah, this one was the Eskilstuna Black IPA. Lovely example of the style in my opinion, coming in at 7% ABV. This is just a really well executed beer in my mind. So yeah, have a go at this one for yourself and see what you think. But let's leave it there. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Eskilstuna Ölkultur. We will no doubt return to these guys at some point fairly soon. Also check out my friend out over at Glass. Do make sure you check out Ricard's channel. He's got some really interesting beers on there. I'm not sure how many of these he's reviewed, but he powers out with these reviews. He does very quick videos, really nice kind of laid back reviewing style. Definitely worth checking out. I'll try to remember to put the link to his channel in the description below, so do go and show him some love. But yeah, awesome to return to these guys, and I really enjoyed this beer. This one was the Eskilstuna Black IPA from Eskilstuna Ölkultur in Eskilstuna, out to the west of Stockholm here in Sweden. Until the next time, Slanja Skull, cheers. Check out my social media, check out this brewery, and I will catch you guys very soon. Cheers.